6 weeks and 45 days later, I have the honor and the privilege to welcome you back to the Will to Win show.
After the gather, the two-step.
DB, those tears are beneath.
Not let anything get in your way when you're not Will to Win show. Trade deadline throwdown, baby. Let's go. All right, everybody. Welcome back. Oh my goodness, it has been way too long. As I mentioned, 6 full weeks without the Will to Win show. I have missed it. I hope you've missed it too. We're back, and boy, do we have a lot to discuss. First off, let's talk about, there's a lot of elephants in the room right now. If you're a frequent watcher, or you were a frequent watcher before I disappeared, first off, welcome back. Second off, you'll get what I mean by elephant in the room. First of all, first elephant. Where the heck were you, Will? That's a good question. Where was I? So I mentioned it in episode 8 on December 18th before I ran off and disappeared for 6 weeks. So I had a surgery up in Minnesota, which there's a funny story about that. But up in Minnesota, it was a surgery, kind of opened up my airway, just different things going on there. So as you can imagine, with a surgery like that, it can knock you out pretty good, especially if you are hosting a podcast and they're messing with your bones in here and your jaw and all that. You're not going to be able to talk for a while. So I had a big splint in my mouth. My talking was very limited. It was very inaudible at times. You can ask my family, you can ask my friends. And also I couldn't really eat any food for 6 weeks. I'll tell you what, I just got out of the splint. I had it scheduled to go up there, get the splint out of my mouth. And that was the period. That's why I said 4 to 6 weeks. It happened this past weekend, on a Thursday. And if you follow my Instagram page, you saw my content from Minnesota, things of that nature. And that was my marking point to when I thought I could come back, and I feel great. And I can talk, a little bit of pain here and there, but my goodness, nothing was going to hold me back from bringing you all a trade deadline special. I don't think there's any better way to return to the show than to bring forth the craziest episode we've ever done, because I'll tell you this, nobody is going to do the NBA trade deadline like the Will to Win show. And so as far as to predict certain trades and certain things, I'm not afraid. As you know, if you know me, I am not afraid to say things that are a little outlandish, and we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it, but I hope you stick around, because if you've been a Thunder fan and you've seen the reports, you've seen the rumors, Thunder might be active in trade talks. Okay, I've seen it too. We've all seen it. We've all been like, "What the heck? Like, what's going on?" Stay here and watch. We will get to the trade deadline, but of course, we have a lot to discuss. As I mentioned, the elephant in the room was my surgery. I told you, we talked about that. If you have any questions, hit me up. You know where to find me, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. Hit me up. We can talk about it. But I'm so happy to be back. I hope you all are glad to be back too. And let's dive into the past 6 weeks. We're going to be brief. But you know how I mentioned elephants in the room, and how if you're a frequent watcher, you're a regular, you know what I'm going to talk about here. We had a lot of episodes that were very ambitious. First of all, I'm not afraid to go back and discuss things that I said that were wrong. In the first episode I ever made, episode 1 of the Will to Win show, I said the Thunder would have a record of 74-8 in this season. I thought we'd be the greatest team of all time. And as the first 8 weeks of the Will to Win show progressed, we saw that ambition, that prediction, start to look very, very possible, almost likely. Right? We were on cloud nine. I had a episode titled something to the effect of "Looking Up from Unseen Heights." That was how we felt. We were on cloud nine. We thought we were the best team ever. We were almost getting a little bit bored on this show. What is there to talk about when all you do is dominate? What can you talk about? And as I left, if you watched episode 8, I was outside on my deck back home in the woods. It was kind of crazy. Go back and watch it. I was talking about how in 6 weeks, when I see you again, there's a real chance we will have had the longest winning streak in Thunder history at the Cleveland game. That would be the game we would have broken that record. It would have been 19 in a row. I don't know what I was saying. But at the time, I had, like I said, every single episode until the Thunder give me any reason to not be optimistic, I will not stop being 100% optimistic. And folks, we have been brought down to earth. And the Thunder have given me reasons, which I'm going to go into, to be pessimistic. To realize that the Oklahoma City Thunder we are not the greatest team in NBA history. We will not be anywhere close to the greatest team in NBA history. And we are going to have to fight like hell to have a chance at winning another championship this season. Okay? The NBA is cutthroat right now. It is cutthroat, and it is whipping our tail ends to a certain degree. Obviously, we hold ourselves to a higher standard. You might look at the last 24 games, 14-10. Some teams would take that and be jubilant and jump with joy. Not us. We have seen what's happened. 3 losses to San Antonio, 2 to Minnesota, 3 losses in the last 4 games. There are some trends here that are extremely, extremely concerning, and we're going to get into them, okay? We are going to get into them. So, first off, the question that I'm like, well, how do I even, after being off for 6 weeks and all these things happen, do I go into each little series we had with San Antonio? When I let you guys off, the little rivalry we built with San Antonio had not really started yet. We were going into Cup Week, and that all kind of kicked off. This whole stretch of mediocrity kicked off at the NBA Cup in Las Vegas. We didn't really talk about that much. I mean, we talked about that one game with all the Christmas Day stuff, all of that. We didn't discuss. I'm not going to go into each game because you all saw it. You know what happened. I know what happened. If you follow my page at OKC_will2win on Instagram, you know what happened. Okay. You know how I feel about everything. So the question that came up, how do I summarize this? How do I pick this show back up to where we can continue into, what's coming next? If you look at this beautiful artwork, I drew this. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. I blame my 3rd grade teacher who taught me how to write. I think it's okay, though. I think it's okay. Look, Denver, Orlando, San Antonio, Houston, we got to get to here. And we left off on the 18th of December. So what has changed? That's the question I asked. What has changed from being 24-1 at the time of recording one of those last episodes to now being, what is it, 14-10 since we're 24-1, so we'd be 28-11. What's our current record? Oh, it's up here. 38. I cannot do math. I'm so sorry. I cannot do math. I have friends who are math majors at this university I go to. I'm so sorry if you're watching this. Okay. We are 38-11. It was right in front of my face the whole time. Look, what has happened? What has changed? And the answer, many will say, if you're a hater watching this, I promise you I'm not going to just say this and say nothing else. But the first answer that comes to mind is health. Okay? That is not an excuse. That is not a scapegoat. But if you're not going to mention health first to describe what has happened and what has changed for the Thunder, the inconsistencies with health come first, and that is a fact. Ihart was out for over a month. Jalen Williams has been out for a few weeks now with a hamstring strain. Alex Caruso has been inconsistently in and out of the lineup. Jalen Williams, Jay Will, has been out of the lineup. We went through a couple weeks without any center on the lineup other than Chet Holmgren, which I think he's a power forward. So I would say we didn't have a center on the roster, which Chet, I think, really exceeded my expectations there in holding the paint down and really making the best of a crappy situation in the paint. He did okay. AJ's been out for a while. You've seen reports that we are undefeated this season with AJ Mitchell. Is AJ Mitchell a difference between winning and losing? We'll get into it. And the reason I go to health is because we can sit here and talk for hours about every little thing that's gone wrong in these games. There's not really any trends. There's some, which I'm going to talk about. Inconsistency. I'll say inconsistency. We'll have games where we're shooting lights out. We'll have more games where we're not. You could say shooting. A lot of people would say shooting. Rebounding, a big one, offensive rebounding. We get smoked in the offensive boards in games like, what's the game? That would have been New Orleans. We got smoked on the boards, offensive boards. We got smoked. We still pulled out that game. It was ugly, but we won that game. Games like that, rebounding kills us. Now with Hartenstein back, that should get better, although it didn't help us very much. It hasn't helped us very much so far. I want to preface this. I'm filming this the same night the Denver game is being played. This is going to come out after the Denver Thunder game. If you want to see my coverage on that game, go to at OKC_Will to win. Future Will be posting about that on Instagram, but I will not be covering that in this episode because I haven't watched the game yet. But up to this point, Isaiah Hartenstein's return has not really made like a night and day click difference. Okay, it's helped. It has helped anchor us, and I think it's going to continue to help as he gets worked back into this roster. Inconsistency, though, has been, health, but I also think inconsistency. Those two words, health and inconsistency, I think they play hand in hand. And if I had to choose one word, really, to outline outside of help the Thunder's troubles, it would be inconsistency. Inconsistency in our roster, what we're putting out every night, shooting, production. And then one trend I really want to dive deep into is offensive flow has been just incredibly disrupted. Incredibly. And I know you might think saying the word inconsistent so much as a Thunder fan sounds crazy, right? When we make all these jokes all the time about how Shai's whole life is consistent and Shai is our anchor. Yes, Shai has been consistently good. Okay, maybe not as efficient at times, but consistently he's been SGA. But SGA cannot go out there 1-on-5 and win us every single game. He'll win us some 1-on-5. He'll win us some, but not every night. And that's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing. Okay. So this is not, I'm not calling SGA inconsistent because he's very consistent. But the offensive flow has been disrupted. And I'm telling you this right now. Teams have figured us out. They figured out our offense. Completely and utterly figured us out. Okay. And it started with San Antonio. And when you see a team beat you 3 times out of 4 in the past month, right? Do you really think other teams aren't going to call them and say, what did you do? How did, people talk, all right? People watch film. This is not just some random, oh man, we're not good anymore. No, this is X's and O's. People are figuring out what we're doing. And right now, because of that, we are seeing a lot of isolation and zero flow on offense a lot of the times. First and foremost, teams are not letting SGA, at least recently in the past couple of weeks, they're not letting Shai get the ball. They're not letting him touch it. And if they can handle it, and then when he does, he's getting automatically double teamed. Shai has been going through absolute hell to do anything on the offensive end, which is why he's been consistent, but it has been difficult for him to get there because teams are not letting him because who else is going to beat them? With J-Dub out, with AJ out, okay? And I think diving into the AJ stuff, we were us being 6-0, or I forget what the stat is, but there's a stat that says that with AJ Mitchell on the court, we're not losing, and with him off the court, we are, and it's pretty explicit. Okay, why do we have success with AJ Mitchell? The most explicit reason I can think of is that he is a little replication of what SGA does. If AJ Mitchell and SGA are on the court at the same time, you can't take Shai out of the game. There's no way to do so because he's going to get the ball right to AJ Mitchell and he's going to penetrate it in the same way SGA does. And at that point, you can't leave a man open. You can go double Shai when AJ's there because AJ's going to find a guy, right? AJ is going to replicate what Shai does to where you have to guard Shai straight up if you want to be able to contain AJ. And that's why he is so valuable. And without that second ball handler, without Shai and without AJ and without J-Dub, there is no real ball handler on that court, primary ball handler. And that's where we're seeing Lu Dort getting a lot of isolated situations, throwing up bad shots. We're seeing Chet Holmgren, that his stats have been great at times, right? But when he's, when you're 7-footer, you get the ball to the mid post, trying to back someone down, dribble, it's nowhere, spin, pass, same thing over and over and over. He's having a hard time getting to his spot because he's being forced to facilitate and penetrate. That's not his role. Chet Holmgren's not going to be a guy, we compare him to Kevin Durant, but he's not going to be like Kevin Durant, sway dribbling and getting to his spot and pulling up. He has done that some. That's not his game, though. That's not what Chet Holmgren needs to do, but he's being forced to do that. Him, Lu Dort, Aaron Wiggins, we're seeing guys lose the ball. We're seeing our turnovers go way up because teams are forcing us to be uncomfortable by taking Shai out of the game. And when they take Shai out of the game with our injuries, we have no answer. Hopefully, that paints you a picture of why our offense has been so inconsistent. And obviously, there's some games where we are getting to our spots, we are penetrating well, we're finding solutions, but the shots aren't falling. It's not just that. Other things happen, but I think you have to have someone set you up well to do what you need to do. Okay. So this offense right now, as it stands, is not built to thrive. If injuries were turned off, I think we would be. I think we would be in a lot better position. But right now, the production we're putting out is not built to thrive in the postseason. Even the regular season, it's just not working. When we're winning by the skin of our teeth and barely hanging on because we're hitting some BS shots. And that's me being for real. Okay. Now, one thing I want to mention too, another thing I think is going wrong is our mentality at times. Obviously, this team's very mature for their age. I'm not docking their mentality as a whole. But for almost a year now, probably over a year, this team has felt pretty darn unbeatable to this point. This is probably the roughest stretch they've had in a long time, consistently in a row. This month has been very hard. Okay, let's say that. And in the face of this adversity, which is now, we can call it unfamiliar adversity, we're seeing some rise to the occasion and some fall. Okay, at times. And we're seeing that in outbursts in the court. I don't like to see our guys go run up to the refs, start crying. A lot of our guys start looking like Luka, LeBron, and Jokic out there at times. I don't like to see that. I don't want to name names. I don't like to see that. The Thunder brand of basketball is a brand built on humility and not expecting anything, but earning everything. Okay. The Thunder, the moment the Thunder start to expect wins to be given to them, which is what 90% of fans online think the Thunder is wins being given to them, right? The second that, which is false, but the second that starts becoming true, is the second they will never win another championship. Because teams do not win, at least small market teams do not win unless they earn it, and they don't expect anything. The NBA is not going to give us anything. They're not going to sit down and the refs aren't going to just give us, you can't blame the officiating. You have to blame yourself, and you have to be better, and you have to mentally not let anything get in your way. When you're not performing the way you need to be performing, you can't go out there and complain. Okay? And that's sometimes what we're seeing. I don't like that. We're seeing a lot of hate online for Lou Dort at times. He's risen in some games, but Lou is one where I think his headspace is not entirely there in the face of adversity. I'd like to see him get to his spots. I think he played a great game against Donovan Mitchell the other night. I think he's had moments. I'm not. Before you start saying, "Oh my gosh, you're giving up," or some people are like, "Yes, he's giving up on Lou Dort. Get him out of here." No, I am not the person who's ever going to give up on Lou Dort because of. If you want to talk about what I just talked about, earning something instead of being given to you, Lou Dort is that guy, and I expect him to have that mentality every night, and I think overall he does. If you look back, if you've been a Thunder fan watching Lou Dort since 2019, you're not giving up. It's these new fans coming in that want to give up on Lou Dort. I think Lou Dort is a staple to this roster for the locker room and beyond. And I think he's having a rough time because the league is starting to he's getting a lot of attention league-wide for being dirty, for being, things that I don't believe he is. I think we're going to see him in the limelight a lot this season. It's going to be a very, very critical moment for Lou Dort to see how he reacts to all the noise. That's as far as I'm going to dive into Lou specifically. Obviously, we have a lot of episodes to dive into these things. This is my overview, okay? So now, we went over what changed. How can this be fixed? How do I think we can fix this? Health, number one. Get healthy, get back on the court for a consistent period of time. Healthy for a while, okay? So we can start to get in a groove again. Creativity on offense, but obviously Mark Dagnall isn't the type of guy who's going to lay it all out there in the regular season. He's going to hold some stuff behind. We're not seeing ourselves in full force. The Thunder are built for the postseason. That's why I'm not particularly too concerned because I trust our coaching staff. Anytime you get nervous, go look at our coaching staff and how they are acting. You'll feel a lot better, okay? Our coaching staff is class act best in the league. They have things in their back pocket, okay? So they're not going to reveal all that. They're going to try to have this team get through this and get tougher and play through this without them creating some magic offensive potion that's going to push them through. This is for the players to figure out right now, okay? Coaches are going to come in and get us where we need to be when we need to be there, okay? Lastly, last couple notes I have on this. Find that youthful hunger that carried you to a championship. We're seeing this team get older. We're seeing this team, it's getting monotonous, right? All these games back to back or every other day like this right now, right? You got to find that same youthful hunger to where you weren't at the mountaintop and you were like, oh my gosh, we had a chance to be really good. We've been here for, we've grown up together as players and we can go win a championship. You've done that now. How do you find that motivation? That's something I talked about at the start of the year. What's going to motivate the Thunder this season? They have to find that youthful hunger and that motivation. They have to want it more than other teams. And right now, almost every team they go up against is wanting it more than them. And that is what's hard about being a reigning champ. That is what's hard about being a reigning champ, is that every single night, it is the other team's championship. You remember us against Boston last year on January 5th, I believe, 2025. And that night, the Paycom Center, it was a playoff atmosphere in a regular season game against Boston because you beat the champs. You beat the champs. Minnesota, San Antonio, Toronto, Indiana, all these teams are celebrating and they are playing so hard to beat us. And that only is going to make us better, but we have to rise to it and we have to find a way to want it more. And right now it's not there and it has to get there. And I believe it will. Last thing I will say before we get to our trade deadline excitement. I know this has been kind of doom and gloom, but we had to kind of tone ourselves down a bit. We came off a really, really high note, 6 weeks ago. It's a lot that's gone down, okay? A lot of noise and a lot of things have gone down. Complacency and entitlement. Complacency, entitlement, expecting things to fall in your lap will destroy this budding dynasty. And I think that's something that every single player and every single coach, everyone in the Thunder organization has in the back of their mind. They're not going to let happen because they know this is a critical moment right now. Are you going to choose to rise and want it more than everybody else once again? And that honestly starts as we go through this week. Speaking of this week, if you haven't heard, the trade deadline is Thursday. And it is time for the first ever Will to Win show. Trade deadline throwdown, baby. Let's go. All right, first off, before we get into specific things, specific trades and all that stuff, is a trade the remedy to our problems? I mentioned a lot of things that we could help, a lot of mental stuff that could help us get over this hump. Is a trade the remedy? Could a trade fix our troubles? We've heard rumblings from Brian Windhorst and other analysts that the Thunder are in a hunt for another big man. Some fans are longing for shooting consistency and better shooters. The answer is I don't know. Really, only our organization knows what's really going to help. We don't know what guys are disrupting the locker room. Is this a locker room problem? We don't know that as fans. But I personally don't think a trade has to be the remedy. I don't think it necessarily should be the remedy for our troubles. I think it could be. We've heard reports that Presti's going to be active. We've heard reports that the Thunder are very active right now. We've heard that Hartenstein could be on the block. Things of that nature and things that kind of rock my world a bit. Do I think that's all legit? Absolutely not. Do I think some of it could be like the Ousmane Dieng thing? Yes, I expect Uz to be traded by the end of this week. I expect him to be gone. And that's not anything against Uz. I just think his development is being completely taken away from him here. He's not having the opportunities he should be having. And he's still a young, valuable asset. And we need to get value from that while we can. So, and I think now's the time. Now is the time. But the question is, can he, get thrown into a bigger deal to do something? Now, as I go through that disclaimer, here's my full disclaimer. I think the Thunder will not make any major rotational moves. When I say major, nobody in our rotation gets moved. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think we're going to see any major rotational moves at all. I think we're going to work to get healthy and get back out there. I do think we could see some rotation additions with an Ousmane Dieng flip, and we'll go into some of those options. So that's my disclaimer. That's what I think is going to happen. Little things, pick flips, things of that nature. We're not going to draft 3 or more players in this draft. I'll tell you right now, we're not doing it. So those picks are going to go somewhere. So I could see us maybe adding. I could see, okay, maybe we trade like an Isaiah Joe or a Kenrich Williams, something of that nature. And you're going to see what I think. You're going to see if we had to do trades, you're going to see what I would do. Okay. But here is the devil on my shoulder saying, I can see a world where Sam Presti could be aggressive. Because if you think about it, we're 38-11. We've slipped a bit, but we're still first in the West. Okay. We have some incredible young pieces. We have 3 stars in this roster. You cannot waste this peak we're having right now. We're in a position to go win another championship, and you want to maximize that potential. You don't want to just say, you know what, I think we're good enough. Let's hold out for the future. When you're here in the present 38-11, you're going to be in the playoffs. You're likely going to be a 1 seed. You want to give yourself the best chance to win. And right now, do we really think we have the best chance to win a championship that we could have if we don't make a move? I don't know. It depends on who we're going after, right? It depends on who we're going to go after. You can't waste the season, and you have to stay one step ahead of your opponents. Stay one step ahead. I think if we got another piece that's going to really adjust the offense, that could make people start to try to have to figure us out again. We'd be less vulnerable for a bit. We could start working ourselves out while they're trying to figure us out. Things of that nature. It's a big game of chess, guys. It's a big game of chess. You got to stay one step ahead, and maybe this is our next step. So, in this trade deadline throwdown, folks, what I'm going to do is go through 4 categories of possible trades. Some I could see, some I couldn't see. Disclaimer, none of these are like, I'm not saying I'd pull the trigger on all these. No, I'm just saying, this is what we could do, right? This is what we could do. And there's 4 categories of trades that I have. I broke it up a bit, okay? And you're not, any other podcast, any other show, any other account, you're not going to see as many trades as I'm about to throw at you. I am throwing at you a total, let me count, a total of 16 trades, okay? We're going to go through them pretty quick. And feel free to comment, react, say yes to that one, no to this one, yes to this one, no to this one. I want to hear everything you have to say because I find trades so fun to think about. This is like when the NBA turns into a TV show. I think it's so funny. I think it's so fun. And as the, fan page, this is the time of year where we're extremely active and really trying to chop it down for you guys. Because I know it's like when you're a meteorologist and there's storms coming in, a big winter storm. You're like everyone's watching you to try and figure out what's going to go on, what's the forecast. Kind of like the weather forecast, to an extent. Obviously, I can't predict what's going to happen, but I can bring you guys things to think about just for fun because it's an exciting week. It is one of the most exciting weeks of the season. And with that, let's introduce our 4 categories of potential trades. And this is what I would like to see us go for, okay? First off, the first category, and kind of the category I think we should hit, a versatile big. I hear a lot of people saying we need shooters over bigs. Guys, we have a lot of guys who can shoot. They just need to get in the lab and get their shots right and get their heads right, and I think they will. Right? I mean, think about if you trade for a shooter, who knows if they're going to come in to OKC in a new environment, a new home, and shoot the ball lights out like they were back where they were. We don't know these things. I'll disclaimer now, or I'll get to that when we get to the next section. Versatile big. So that's the first category, okay? First and foremost, I want to see us get a versatile big. Someone to, because Hartenstein and Jalen Williams are not staying healthy. Can we trust them to be there in the postseason? No. And without them in the postseason and the paint, can we win? No. I don't think we can. So, our bigs. Here we go. Versatile bigs, okay? First off, we're going to go to Portland. We're going with Portland, okay? There is a guy, they call him the Time Lord. The Time Lord, one of the best rebounders out there. There's a big caveat to this trade. But first off, I'll introduce him to you. Robert Williams III from the Trail Blazers. His name's been mentioned in different circles, right? I haven't heard him really mentioned for us yet. But here's the package we give up for him. All these trades are possible. I mashed them up pretty well to make them financially be okay, right? To where these could be legit trades we could see. We'll trade him for Kenrich Williams and Williams for Williams. Welcome to the team. Another Williams. And Ousmane Dieng. You're going to see a lot of Ousmane Dieng in these trades because I think if you look at our roster up and down, there's a lot of everyone we don't want to give up. Like even to the bottom, Thomas Sorber, Nikola Topic. No. The potential is too big to give any of those guys up. Usman Jang is going to be traded, I think, so I'm going to include him a lot here. And a second round pick. So, Robert Williams, great rebounder, can hold down the paint. I think he had adapted to our offense well. Question is, can he stay healthy? If we're going after a healthy, versatile big, he's not the answer. I'll say that right now. But it's something fun to think about. On to the next. Okay. And obviously, let me know what you think about these trades down below. How do y'all like? Would you like Robert Williams III on this team? And we're going to go, I'll tell you right now, we're going to go from kind of smaller, less splashy trades to bigger time, like, whoa, trades, okay? And just just hold out for the last category, okay? Because I'm telling you, it's going to get wild in here. You might hate me, you might love me. We'll see. Second player, second option, out of Brooklyn, Nick Claxton. Okay, and that would be a splash in its own right there. And it will be clunky. If you think about it, if we're not giving up a Hartenstein or a Jay Will and we're bringing in a Nick Claxton, how does the rotation look? When does their minutes come in? I guess Jay Will's going to have to be a 4-man, and his minutes probably go down. It's just like, how clunky do you want this big man rotation to be? Because in this trade, we're giving up Isaiah Joe and Usman Jang, more minutes for our guards, more minutes for Topic when he comes in. I think that's great. But our big rotation would be a little clunky, but I think moving Jay Will to more of a convertible 4-man spot wouldn't be a bad idea. And letting Chet entirely run the 4, I think it could be beautiful. So I'm not against this. We give up our Utah pick, which is protected. I don't think we're going to get that anyway. But it's fun to think about. I think Brooklyn, if Brooklyn's getting offers from Nick Claxton, I think this is one they'll look at. I don't know if they'd do it. If you're a Nets fan, let me know. If you're a fan of any other team watching this, let me know what you think. Because I want to hear your thoughts. Would you do it? Tell me yes or no. You might think I'm crazy underselling you. You probably will, because I'm a Thunder fan. But if you're rebuilding, we have a good pick for you. 2 good picks, our 2026 pick as well. 2 picks in this draft. It could be fun for the Nets. Moving on. Next, we have Bobby Portis out of the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, this is kind of like, if the Bucks trade Giannis, they're going to enter a rebuild, right? They're going to, we'll see what they trade him for, but I think the Bucks were going to hear offers for anybody on that roster. They're going to hear out offers. And I almost want to put Miles Turner on this list, but I think you just bring him in. I don't think they're going to be too eager to trade Miles Turner. So I went for Bobby Portis. I think, if you look at his tagline there, it literally says versatile big. He's, the perfect 3-and-D big, I think, for this roster. He can kind of be a punk at times. But, Isaiah Joe, Jay Will, Arkansas guys, bringing another Arkansas guy, it could be kind of fun for that purpose. Our Hog fans are going to love our team. But I think it could be interesting. I think he could stretch the floor, bring in a veteran presence, another guy. We're giving up Kenrich in this trade, but it would be another guy who could really kind of spark the mentality. He's been there, he's won a championship, things of that nature. I think it could be good for our roster to bring in someone like Bobby, a veteran big who can kind of guide these guys, and it can be fun to be around. I think he'd be a great glue guy, but also a great rotational piece. I'm saying actually hit shots for us too. Hit shots, stretch the floor, change our offense a little bit if he's in the game. I think it would be a good little twist. Next, our second to last big we're going to talk about here. Speaking of Arkansas guys, by the way, Daniel Gafford from Dallas. Okay, how about that? Now, we don't like Daniel Gafford, after that 2024 series, but really, if you're the Mavs and you trade AD, you're entering a rebuild, a rebuild, retool, because you have a star player in Cooper Flagg. You're building around Cooper Flagg. So this trade kind of depends on how eager is Dallas to rebuild. If they want, I think getting Daniel Gafford could be huge for this team. I think he could be perfect for, getting boards and bringing that, just commanding the paint. Imagine a roster with him and Chet in that front court. My gosh, it's just, then again, our big rotation would be clunky. Maybe in these trades you have to. I wouldn't like, and I'm thinking do I throw Hartenstein into Dallas? I don't want to give Dallas Isaiah Hartenstein. I don't want to trade Isaiah Hartenstein. I'll tell you guys right now, you're going to see some Isaiah Hartenstein here. I don't want to let him go. I love Isaiah Hartenstein. He's critical to this team. And I wouldn't trade him for any of these bigs you're seeing. I wouldn't. So that's why you're saying the Kenrich Williams, Usman Jang package a lot. But I think Gafford could be great. I think of all these bigs so far, he'd be my favorite, just to kind of really make it hard for other teams. I remember when they threw that Lively Gafford lineup at us in the playoffs 2 years ago. Man, we couldn't do anything about it. That's why I think that's why we lost, is we couldn't stop their two bigs. So to bring that to our team could be huge. And the Hog fans, again, the Razorbacks, man, they're going to be happy with that. Now, for our biggest splash, our kind of crazy trade to think about, long shot trade. But you're hearing the Cleveland Cavaliers a lot in trade rumors. We're hearing a lot of Cavs. Okay, the question is, how far does that go? How far does the Cavaliers trade talks? How serious are they? How are they? They're in the second apron, so they have a lot of restrictions on what they can do. They can't like trade two for one or anything of that nature. So you kind of have to go out there and go make yourself get one of their guys. It's difficult to trade with Cleveland, but if we're talking about big men bringing to this roster, and like develop with these guys and be a great guy to have on this team as a big next to Chet, Jarrett Allen would be up there. He'd be up there, and so it's like, what would it cost to go get a Jarrett Allen if he's on the table? That's the type of trade I think Presti would look at and be like, why the hell not? Let's look at it. In this trade, giving up Wiggins hurts, but in order to get a guy like Jarrett Allen, you have to give up a guy like Aaron Wiggins, and you have to give up a nice pick in that Philly pick. Maybe more. I think it would probably take more picks than this. But how many trades is Cleveland doing? Are they completely rebuilding? What's Cleveland doing right now? Who knows what they're doing? It would have to be more. Cleveland would have to be let go of a lot of guys to ever consider this. But that's an offer just to think about. Just think about. And now we move on to section number 2. Okay, and this is shooters. Straight up shooters, guys to improve our percentages and get us buckets, spot up, and shoot the dang ball. Okay, I think it's needed. I would love to see us go get a shooter, but it's just like, who are we going to give up? It's like, who are we going to give up that would be better for this team? First off, we'll start low here. Although this trade is interesting. This trade I had fun with. Dalton Connect is the piece. This is the Dalton Connect trade. He's a shooter we're going to get. He's on the block. He wants out. He demanded a trade, basically. And so to make money work, you have to go get another guy from the Lakers. I don't know how eager they'd be to give up Maxi Kleber. They'd probably have to go get a big somewhere else in this trade. But if they want a young piece in Ooze with a bright future, 6'10", I mean, he's the same height as Maxi. Plus Kenrich and a few picks that Utah pick be valuable. I mean, why not? And Dalton Connect would be fun. A young shooter. Just get him the ball in the corner, spot up, see what he can do. I think that could be a fun, kind of low stakes, low risk trade. Losing Kenrich would suck, but I think Maxi in himself, I know this is a shooter trade, but to make contracts work, Maxi would be great. I mean, he gave us trouble in that Dallas series as well. He'd be so great to have to get boards and bring us energy off the bench. Now, this next trade, guys. I went down the Warriors rabbit hole. If you're making 16 trades, you're bound to bite on one Warriors. And the Warriors are in a mess, okay? They're in a mess. And I'm looking at them, right? And I'm like, if we are trading Isaiah Hartenstein, what do we need? What would we want? And I originally went into this, I dove down the Warriors rabbit hole because I wanted to go see what we could get. Bring Buddy Hield, OU guy, back to OKC to be a shooter in the shooters list. I think that'd be fun. But it's complicated to do any trades with Golden State contractually. So this is the first Hartenstein appearance we have. And looking at it, it's like, I just kind of wanted the Buddy Hield for the Ousmane Dieng thing. It wasn't working out. But the more I look at this, the more I'm like, how toxic is Kuminga? Like, we'd have to really dive deep into that Kuminga situation. I think Kuminga is a great young talent. Great. When he's at his best, he's a great young talent. It's just, is he poison for the locker room? What is going on there? I don't know too much about it. I'm not too deep into that mess. I don't know if it's Golden State or him that's a problem. I think it's probably a little bit of both. This is one of those trades I wouldn't do it for that risk. But the upside of this trade, to bring in maybe a potential all-star one day in Kuminga, a shooter in Buddy Hield, and a big man in Al Horford who could do the job for a season, until Sorber comes in, I think that could be a nice. In 2 years, we have Horford. I mean, who's a former Thunder. He's familiar with the area. We love Al Horford in OKC. This could be a trade worth doing if Hartenstein's gonna be gone in a year anyway. If you're getting value for Isaiah Hartenstein plus a 2028 Warriors pick, I could see Presti biting. I could see it. Now, like I said, I preface this. You're not going to see these trades anywhere else because no one. A lot of you are chanting at me, heresy, heresy. This is a horrible. I know what you're thinking, okay? But I encourage you to look at this and be like, what if? What if? Use your brain, use your imaginations, guys. It's fun. This is for fun. Okay, this is for fun. Don't yell at me. This is for fun. But let me know what you think, though. I want to hear it. Next, we're going down. Or I guess we're going up. Or I guess over from San Francisco. We're going over across the country to Brooklyn again. And the player I'm going after here, I don't want Michael Porter Jr., but I'm hearing his name enough to where I think if we go get him, I want to address it and not miss out on the prediction there. MPJ, sure, he'd be a good shooter to have. I don't like what he'd do for. I think he might disrupt our flow. I'm not sure how I feel about Michael Porter Jr. in a Thunder uniform after the last playoff stretch and all that. But in order to make this contractually work, we'd have to give up Isaiah Hartenstein again. And so it's like, do you want to give up Hartenstein from MPJ? I don't think so. But you get Day'Ron Sharpe as well, so another big to kind of hold that spot until Sorber gets in there and can be that guy for us, potentially. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I wouldn't do it at all. Like I said, I don't want to trade Isaiah Hartenstein. I don't want to mess this team in a major way. And Wiggins sucks. Losing him would suck too. It would be bad. That one I'm not a huge fan of. I don't want Michael Porter Jr., but I think if we're going to go trade for him, this is what it would take. It would take something like that. So before you go say, we want Michael Porter Jr., we want him, we need him. Look at this trade and like that $38 million contract. Is it worth it to you? Not for me. Next, our last shooter, our biggest splash we can make here. Chris Middleton, okay? You call me crazy. I'm looking at shooters who, an expiring contract to get us, if Presti's looking for a trade that's going to push us over the hump to another championship, another star caliber player should be that shooter for us. If that's what he wants, and Lu Dort is a problem in the locker room, is this a bad trade? Probably not. Probably not. You're losing Isaiah Joe sucks, but you replace him with a guy like Cam Whitmore. I mean, it's not crazy. I don't think it's good. I wouldn't do it personally. But I'm just looking like these are fun to explore, and maybe I think the Wizards could do this if we threw in a pick. But I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to throw in a pick. I wouldn't want to do any of that. So that concludes the shooters category. And I don't really know between shooters or this next category which one I'd rather have, because I think we need this. We need another pure-blooded scorer off the bench who's going to go get buckets. We are trying to force Cason Wallace, guys like Cason, guys like Aaron Wiggins to go be purebred, dominant scorers. When our bench unit really doesn't have that kind of DNA, like that scoring DNA. It's a defensive run and gun DNA, which is great and it works. But having one scorer, kind of like AJ, but if AJ's out, this could really open things up for Shea and really make defenses pick their poison. And you'll see when I mention the guys, you'll see what I mean. Okay, first off, Quentin Grimes from Philly. They're trying to figure out. I've seen his name a lot in trade rumors. What are we going to do with him? Are you building around Edgecombe? Are you building around Maxey? Do you have room for Quentin's development? No. So get your pick back. Get your pick back this year. No pressure. You can go tank if you want with Paul George's crap going on and Embiid probably out another injury soon, right? Or I think he is out. I don't know. Wait, is Joel Embiid hurt? That could change things a lot. But yeah, he's playing. Wait. Okay, he's playing. He's got an ankle injury. That's why I thought I saw something about that. But okay, no, he's playing, but he's probably gonna be out at some point. Sorry to hate, but if you're wanting to tank, get your pick back and get a guy like Ooze, take a swing on him. That could be one of the best offers you get for a guy like Quentin Grimes, I think. So that would really elevate our bench play. I would love to see that. That's a trade I would eat up. I think just to explore that would be fun. Next, Another trade similar to that. This one I think could be really nice. Now, some people might think I'm crazy to say this. Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas. Another pure scorer. Go get you buckets. You don't have to put him in every game. Go put him in, get you buckets, right? You get Daron Sharp too, and that one of those big mans I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of guys say, let's go get Daron Sharp, right? We'll probably have to throw in another pick or two with this trade, but you lose Joe, you lose Ooze, but I think that's an upgrade on both levels there. I like it. I would do it personally. I hate to lose Isaiah. I love Isaiah Joe. I'm not hating on him. I just think this trade will be kind of where we are as a team. This could fill two big holes. This is one of my favorite trades I put forward here. Is this trade? I like it. I like it. And we're gonna move on. This is another interesting one. This is why I said this is a very interesting topic category right here. These chores. Malik Monk, guys. Malik Monk. That's another guy from Arkansas. I'm making these Arkansas references. I'm from Arkansas, so I know what dude's been there. Now here he's the guy. He's on the might get traded. He's probably gonna get traded somewhere before the end of the deadline. So why not look at him? If you want to score off the bench, he's gonna get us buckets. That's that's probably the top guy you could get. Maybe I have one guy I think is better. It's kind of more of a swing. But Aaron and Ooze, again, do you want to give that up? I think it could be worth the risk. I think you have to weigh it out a lot in that pick. That's our own pick, so it wouldn't be very valuable. We'd see if the Kings will be interested. I'd call about it, see what they think, right? Next, Kobe White. Kobe White from the Chicago Bulls. What the grand question every year is, what are the Bulls doing? What are the Bulls doing? And we'd have to ask that question to even propose a trade to them for Kobe White, because are they going to keep what they're doing going? Being average. Like, do they want to try and rebuild around Josh Giddey and Modest Buzelis? I mean, is Kobe White going to fit in that mold, in that plan, or Ousmane Dieng and a few picks? What do you weigh? And I think this could be, oh my gosh, talk about elevating your scoring. Woo! That would be big. So, those are our scorers. And now it's time for our final category. And we had versatile bigs, shooters, scorers. And now this category I have is splashes. Okay? Now, these trades are ones that would probably never happen. But this would completely overhaul, the balance in the league. These trades. These are, obviously, I'm sure one of the guys who's going to be involved here based on certain NBA rumors right now. We'll get to that. First off, a team I'm really intrigued by to see what they're going to do. What's their plan? I think every team in the league's watching to see what are they doing. Are they going to flip everybody? They're already active. They already traded for Schroeder. Cleveland Cavaliers, what are they going to do? Okay. If you start rebuilding, if you start trading guys away or retooling, if Darius Garland's not your guy, sounds crazy, I know. But imagine, dual point guard lineup. You move shade to the two. It's weird. It's weird. I don't know if I probably wouldn't do it. But if you move shade to a technically two, or bring Darius in at the two, or and then jump to the three, Chet to the 4, iHeart to the 5. That's a deadly lineup. If they click, we don't know if they click or not. But here's my offer: Luguentz Dort, Isaiah Joe, Kenrich Williams, and 2 first-round picks this year. It's in Cleveland's court. What guard are they going to go get? What's the Alonzo situation like? I don't know if they'd do it. But if Cleveland's flipping everybody, I already had a Jared Allen trade in there, so I didn't want to do that. If they're flipping guys like Allen and Garland, not everybody, they're going to keep Mobley. They're going to keep Mitchell, build around Mobley and Mitchell, Darius Garland and John, and they're so broke. They're so broke. This would give them some financial flexibility to offload some contracts, right? So this is the type of trade they'd have to do if that's what they're willing to do. Where Luguentz Dort, Isaiah Joe, Kenrich Williams, 3 championship pieces, plus 2 valuable picks. I don't know. I think it's a fair offer. But it would be interesting. Darius Garland in the Thunder uniform. That is a splash. Now, before I go into my kind of crazy final trade, I looked at the Giannis stuff, and I do think there is a world in which we trade for Giannis. So I don't want to say I don't think it's going to happen, but I do think it would take a Chet or a J Dub. Contractually, we can't. There's no other way but to trade one of those guys because you can't have four like super maxes on your roster. So that would be contractually a nightmare. So one of those guys has to go. Who do you choose, Chet or J Dub? That's not a conversation we should be having as fans right now, and I don't think it's one that I want to go into. So it would be one of those two plus like a Dort and a Hartenstein, essentially, and a lot of picks. And it's like, do you pay that for a Giannis? Like, is that going to equal what you're giving up? I don't know. So I do think there is a world in which Presti's like, there's something on in the locker room, and he thinks this is what we have to do to win. And as a fan, I roll with it, right? I roll with it, and we get on this podcast that night and we talk, right? But that would be the craziest trade I could put forward to you. I'm not going to put it on here because I just told you what I would think it would be, but it's just too deep to think about. Lastly, here is my favorite, or my I was going to say funnest, my most fun trade that I made. Would I do it? I don't know. It just depends on how bad you want to trade Hartenstein. Now, hear me out. You know what? Just put it on the screen. Put it on the screen. 2 former Thunder back in the Thunder uniform. Hartenstein, Dort, and AJ. And the Philadelphia pick gone. But the thing is, like, if you get Sabonis back for that, that's a deadly lineup. That is a deadly lineup this season. And I don't know. Like I said, I'm putting forward some crazy things. I threw Westbrook in. I wanted to make a Westbrook trade like on him by himself to be that scoring coming off the bench. But you all know how I feel about Russell Westbrook, so I threw him in this one. That is my number one. Let's get Westbrook back on this roster, guys. Let's bring him in. He can be our bench scorer. Give Usman Jang, get Russell Westbrook. Come on, let's do it, baby. Let's do it. Bring Russ home. We're talking about motivation, right? Motivation for this team. Get Russell Westbrook a ring. That's the best motivation you could possibly give to a team, right? That's the best motivation you could possibly ever think of. So with that, we can close our trade deadline discussion and predictions. Like I said, my prediction is we don't really do anything but maybe an Usman Jang dump and some picks. And or some pick swaps or trades or something of that nature. But let's briefly go into this week. Denver, that game will be over. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm nervous. Obviously, this week we could go 0-4. We could go 0-4. The main thing I want to say to you guys is be on the lookout. Follow me right now on OKC_will to win on Instagram, okay? Because there's some things happen to me. I have a lot to tell you guys, and we're going to have a special episode coming out this week, okay? A mind-blowing thing happened to me that could change the course of this page forever, okay? So keep on the lookout. Follow me there. I'm going to announce it. And let me tell you, it's crazy. I mean, a lot of things happened to me while I was gone, by the way. I went to the Spurs game, which we won. So my winning streak goes to 10 games now at Thunder games. Pretty cool. I was in Minnesota on 2 trips to Minnesota. Thunder played the Wolves there. And we lost both. So my good luck ends when we go to Minnesota, I guess. And lastly, I was at the Tulsa airport going up to Minnesota for my appointment. Mac McClung was sitting there in Tulsa. Mac McClung was sitting there. The Windy City Bulls, I guess, played a game in Tulsa. So I said, hey, Matt, can I get a picture? Throw it up on the screen. There it is. I met Mac McClung. So that's some things. This is separate. Okay, this other crazy thing is something I've been holding from you guys for a while. And it has to do with the Houston Rockets. Okay? So circle this game on your calendar because I have some stuff to tell you guys. And I will. So with that, we'll close. Thank you all. I'm so glad to be back. There's no better way to start back than a trade deadline special. And we'll have a special coming soon. So be on the lookout. Love you guys. Have a good week.